if you rent my farm and you decide that you're going to sign up for PLC, you should have a conversation with me whether I'm okay with that, because if I decide next year I don't want you to rent my farm and I rent it to the neighbor, my farm is tied up in PLC for those 5 years, and if he wants ARC on my farm, he can't change it. So these decisions are 5 years, and it is tied to the farm serial number and not to the operator. I'm getting a lot of like, I can't believe you just said that looks, but that's the way it is. So these are all these kind of things you got to fit into the equation. So I'd like to invite Alan, John, and Joe up here. We're going to have them stand here. And what questions you have, and we'll get this mic over here, and just here's your chance to pick it apart. Don't pick them apart, just pick the program apart.
I'll just add to what you said, Nevin, about if you don't make a choice between PLC and ARC, you'll be defaulted to PLC. You will be defaulted to PLC, but it won't take effect until the 2015 year. So you'll be eligible for no payments should they occur for the 2014 crop, if you choose to just go to the default level.
Okay.
So that's just another little piece to what you already said.
If you go with ARC, can you get 2014 payments?
Yes.
The question was, if you go with ARC, can you get 2014 payments? And the answer to that was yes.
If you go with PLC, you can also get 2014 payments if they're available. The issue is if you don't sign up for anything, you'll be dumped into PLC and you won't be eligible for 2014.
If you two gentlemen will come over here, I'll get this other mic, and then that way the camera can catch all, and we'll...
One other question, John. Can you put some farms in one thing and another farm in one producer doesn't have to put it all in one thing, does he?
You know, the question was, can you put some farms in PLC and some farms in ARC?
And remember, we're going by farm serial number here. And if you look at, I think that one chart where it has the 3 programs side by side down through there, it might address your concerns. It depends on which program you pick. Maybe we have a comment from the audience on that. But remember, it goes by farm serial number. And I think the thing that sticks in my mind is if you pick the ARC program, it depends on if you pick the individual or the county as to what you're allowed to do with different crops. And it's all on base acres, remember, and I don't see what I'm looking for right here. But that's a good question. I thought one of the reasons people might want to attend this meeting tonight is be able to find out what everybody knows, but also discover what questions we still need to get the answers for. So I can't really give you a straight answer on that, Bob.
I was reading a publication where a farmer was talking about doing that, putting some farms, half these farms in one program, half in the other. So I don't know if you can do it, but I was reading.
To me, it depends on the PLC, ARC, county, individual decision a little bit. I think that individual ARC, it's all crops have to be enrolled in the program, is what comes to me. I don't want you to quote me on that, though.
Other questions? You have it all figured out? Yes, Nelson?
Was it just the SCO program that is not available in all counties?
Is the SCO program not available in all counties, Joe? What's the question?
He's asking it only, is SCO program, that's what's not available in all counties?
That's correct. Yes, SCO is limited to specific counties only. The decision was made, there were 3 different criteria that determined whether a county was eligible to even offer SCO. And I don't have the exact statistics, maybe Jerry can jump in here, but it had something to do with a county had to have at least 10,000 acres reported of that specific crop in the last 8 of 10 years.
50 farmers.
It had to be 50 farms reported in that county, and there also had to be at least, how many years?
30 years.
30 years of data for that county. So they used different criteria to determine whether or not something was available in a county. Those 3 counties were the only ones that were around this area that offered it.
What's York County? York County is also,
In York County? Okay. They're going to use the same guidelines for corn and soybeans, and when that map comes out, they will have a listing as far as what counties it will be available for corn and soybeans. One other thing to add too for the SCO that I did forget to mention, you're locked into PLC and ARC for the length of the farm bill. You are not locked into SCO. That is an opt-in, opt-out year to year. I didn't mention that. But if for some reason you decide to not opt into it for this year, you can enroll next year or vice versa. So that is an endorsement that can be added or taken away year to year.
But all the other programs are available everywhere.
Alan, I have a question for you on the LGM versus the MPP. If I sign up for the MPP, it said I'm signed in for 5 years. Does that mean I'm ineligible for LGM for those 5 years, or can I just not take an MPP policy and substitute that for an LGM?
So, yes, that language, as I read it, says that if you sign up for the program, it's a 5-year commitment for the margin protection program. So once you're in, you're in. You cannot go back to, you can't move. We were hoping that you could maybe move back and forth. The way I read that, once you're in the margin protection program, you cannot move back to LGM. Having said that, I've advised some people that you can take out an LGM policy. Remember the graph I showed? So today's markets are providing a much better opportunity than that $8 margin protection program offers. So I see it as an opportunity that you can utilize that, take an LGM policy, say till next June, and then switch over to margin protection program. And I think you want to be in the margin protection program with that last graph on the big ship, because I don't know what the sign-up's going to be. If the sign-up is large, I think you want to be in the big ship. But that doesn't mean, I think there's an opportunity for LGM for the first half of 2015.
What if you decide with your farm to opt into one of these insurance programs and then you sell the farm before that 5-year period expires? What happens? Does the new owner have to stay with that farm?
The question was, if I sign up,
The question was, if we sign up for the FSA crop programs, year or two down the road, we sell the farm, what happens to the farm acres after that? The farm acres stay with the program that you signed up for until the farm bill is over. And I did a question in the back about individual crops or all crops. I found it's on that multi-column sheet, and it's under decision units, and I was, believe it or not, I was right. If you pick thank you, Alan. If you pick PLC, it's individual program crops by serial number, farm serial number. If you pick county ARC, it's individual program crops by serial number. If you pick individual ARC, then it's all program crops by farm serial number. So you do have that opportunity, but it depends on which program you decide to pick.
Would one of you gentlemen talk a little bit about the conservation compliance that they brought back into the picture?
All I know about it is we got to comply. I'm not sure any of the details, yeah.
So on the dairy side, it never left. You need conservation compliance to get MILC payments. So that same clause was in there with MILC. So for the dairy side, it's there and you need to comply, but it's the same as it has been.
From a crop insurance side, if you do not have a conservation plan or a conservation compliance form on file at the FSA office, it's the 1026 form, you have until June 1st of next year to turn that form in. If you do not have that form filed by that date, you can still get crop insurance, but it is not subsidized. You will pay the full premium. So what RMA has told us is that they will give all the insurance companies a listing of people that we already have enrolled in the program who are not compliant with the conservation program. We're going to pass that on to the agent and let the agent know, here are your policyholders that do not have a form on file with FSA. And our hope is that we get that this fall, winter, so that way you have enough time to be able to get that form in. And that is by producer. Each producer has to have that 1026 form on file with the FSA office in order to get subsidized crop insurance.
That is a little bit from past history back in, it would have been probably the early 90s. You had to have a conservation plan that was linked, and if you didn't have a conservation plan, you couldn't even get crop insurance. So they liberalized it a little bit. You can still get crop insurance now, but you just pay the full premium, and you won't like that, huh? Yes?
Is there a general rule of thumb at all as to what type of farms make sense for this ARC PLC decision, or is there anything you can give to help define that decision process a little bit?
The question is, there is a general rule of thumb for a particular type of farm that fits PLC versus ARC? John's laughing.
Remember, I started off with, if you can tell me the price of corn harvest of 2018, I could respond to your question more intelligently. I heard a person that I respect their opinion just earlier this week say, now this is, I'm wearing my extension shirt here and we're supposed to be research based, so I'll cover that right now. If you are risk averse, you're going to want to sign up for PLC. But I'm thinking, if you're risk averse, what are you doing being a farmer? If you want to maximize your government payments, you're going to probably want to study the ARC program. That's kind of, I think, getting at what you said there. But to me, it's such an individual decision. What's our cash flow needs? What's the risk tolerance level for everybody at home? I really wouldn't answer that, if somebody asked me to. But I heard somebody say that earlier this week.
Can you explain base acres a little bit more? If you acquire land, can you change your base acres, or what would not be base acres?
The question is to explain base acres a little better.
I'll let your FSA people do the final definition, but to me, base acres, I believe they were established in the 70s for a current or a previous farm bill, and how they decided to do it, I have no idea, but on record at FSA, any farm that you operate, if it has any base acres, FSA has a record of what those base acres are. It was a government program from years ago. It was probably based on historical production or something, but it's only for program crops, which is, I'm not sure I can name them all, but oats, wheat, barley, corn, soybeans, sorghum, I believe, in Pennsylvania. If your farm, let's say I could be farming a farm that has no base acres, because back in, I'll again go to the 70s when they created this scheme, if my farm was all in alfalfa, I might not have any base acres at all. And you cannot create base acres at this time. You can only reallocate the ones you currently have.
Everybody should have got a paper and mail recently with their base acres on from NRCS.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to go. So John's the expert on this, but I still farm. And I lost a farm this spring, and I farmed it for 40 years. It was a farm that I normally grew a large percentage of beans on. That sheep came with the base acres on, and I said, man, my soybean base is almost nothing. What happened here? And so I called into the office, and my soybean base acres went with that farm. So the guys farming that now I mean, we didn't know that at the time, but he got a big bump in the soybean base acres and I lost mine.
Help at all?
Did you want to make mention of the BFR program?
He asked about the VFR, which is Beginning Farmer Rancher. Just real briefly, I'll just throw this out here. It has to do with crop insurance. If you are, it stands for Beginning Farmer Rancher. If you are a person who is beginning to farm for the first time, and that includes you and your spouse or any kind of a farming partner that's with you, if you've never farmed at all, for the first 5 years you take that you're farming, you can get crop insurance at a discounted premium level at an increased coverage level. It's an enticement or whatever you want to call it. So that's all I'll say. So I don't think you qualify for that. There's some other caveats. It doesn't count if you're farming before you're 18 years of age. Those years don't count. If you're farming while you're active in the military service, it doesn't count. And what's the third one? College. Yeah, if you're enrolled in college and farming, it doesn't count. And from what they told us, if you're just taking 1 3-credit course for a semester, that eliminates that year to count as that you were actively farming. So if you're in that position, you know somebody, they can get crop insurance is better. But there's better explanation. That's all go there now. What other questions? We're at 10 and 9, but we have time here. We can stick around an hour long, but we don't want to hold you beyond what you want. Yes.
On rented ground, you said that you ought to talk to the landowner. You actually need a signature from the landowner to change?
For rented ground,
The question was, on rented ground, do you need a signature from the landlord as it relates to the decision of PLC ARC? That's the question, Brent.
so basically the answer is yes, I think. Because these are based on farm serial numbers and the decision stays with the farm for the duration of this farm bill, the landowner is the person that, I'll say makes the decision.
So the FSA needs a signature from the landowner?
Well, I think that's one of the rules that we're not clear on yet. In the previous farm bill, we had to get, either the landlord had to actually do the signature themselves, or we could get power of attorney for just that specific purpose, and our signature would work. One thing that I don't think we've made clear yet is, will that power of attorney, if we have a power of attorney from the previous farm bill, is it still good for this farm bill? I'm assuming it's not going to be. So yes, we're going to have to get our landlords to either sign or give us power of attorney to sign for them. One of the discussion points that farmers in the Lehigh Valley, we don't farm from fence row to fence row. We farm from curb to curb. So we tend to have a lot of landlords, and they're not connected to agriculture. They don't really understand any of this stuff. They read the Wall Street Journal last year and think all the grain farmers are millionaires now. We think that's going to be a challenge to explain this program to your landlords, and some of the farmers I'm talking with, their strategy is going to be they're not going to have any conversation with their landlords at all. That land will roll by default into PLC, and there we go. But they got the same paperwork that Alan was talking about. The paperwork for base acres and yields goes to the landowner. So they've got paperwork in their hand the same day you did. So you might be getting some questions. But the challenge is it worth the effort, or can you explain it, or is it going to up my rent? Some people just make the decision. I'm not suggesting this is a viable strategy, but some people just make the decision, and we'll be in PLC automatically next year. But yeah, it goes by landowner signature.
Any other final questions? You're all informed about something. One thing I want to share with you yet. Some of you have seen this book. This is a crop record book we put together about 2 years ago at our office. I have a supply of them here. It's designed one page per field. It's fertilizing records, manure application records, planting records, spraying records that meet the criteria of Penn State records, and then production history records or harvest records. If you're interested in one of these books and can use them, if you're still using that kind of record system, I have a supply of them here. Please feel free to ask us for one. You can take one along. They do me no good in the storage closet at our office. So if they're helpful to you, great. There's enough, in one book here, there's enough pages for 60 individual fields. So help yourself or ask for one if you can make use of it. Any other final questions? Otherwise, we're going to call it a day. And hopefully this has been worth 2 hours of your Thursday evening. If you know it all and you've got it all figured out, you are a genius. If you're confused, you're about normal. And keep your ears and eyes open because there's obviously more to come. So thanks again for coming and making our evening worthwhile, and have a safe trip home.